Hey everyone, Motorola has really been focusing on their budget and mid-range phones for the past couple of years, and they're continuing this tradition with the Moto G9 Plus. So, why the Plus moniker? Well, aside from the fact that it's larger than many of its predecessors, it also improves on them in a lot of ways. However, you will find some downgrades here, like in the camera department, and there's a switch from stereo speakers to a single downward-facing one. What does this all add up to? Well, I'm Angie for GSM Arena, and this is our review of the Moto G9 Plus. The Moto G9 Plus wouldn't stand out on a 2020 phone lineup except for the very light Moto logo on the back. It has a wider camera bump than last year, and ours is in the indigo blue color. Despite the fact that it might look like glass, the phone has a unibody plastic chassis that's an absolute smudge magnet. The lack of gaps and sharp edges makes it comfortable to hold, but if you want to use it one-handed, the size makes it a bit unwieldy. The G9 Plus is also a wide phone, and at 223 grams, it's rather hefty too. There's no IP rating here or water repellent coating, and the front doesn't have any special protection either, so it's just plain glass. On the sides, there's a Google Assistant button, the volume buttons, and the power button, which doubles as a fingerprint reader. It works reliably, but we wish it was a little faster. We're not huge fans of side-mounted fingerprint readers because they're really easy to bog down with accidental touches, and more often than not we had to enter our PIN manually because the fingerprint unlocking was disabled due to too many bad attempts. On the front, the IPS LCD is a large one at 6.8 inches, and it has a 1080p resolution. There's no HDR10 support or high refresh rate though. The bezels around it are slim, except for the one on the chin, which is a bit thicker, and there's a hole punch in the upper left corner. Since it is an LCD, you'll notice some halos around the hole punch on brightly colored backgrounds. Its brightness isn't class-leading, with a max of 427 nits in manual mode and a max of 522 nits in auto, but this is more than enough for good sunlight legibility. Whites were bluish and colors were inaccurate in the saturated mode, but natural mode provides a much more accurate option. On the audio side of media consumption, we weren't odd. You'll find a headphone jack on the top of the phone and it supports FM radio, which is a nice inclusion. That said, it only comes with a single downward-facing speaker instead of stereo speakers. Loudness isn't impressive, bass is lacking, but at least generally there was good sound clarity. The phone has a Snapdragon 730G chipset, which is no slouch. It'll handle most games and day-to-day tasks nicely. All the same, it comes with 4GB of RAM, which is a little low in this day and age, and there's no higher memory configurations should you want it. At least as far as the other type of memory is concerned, it comes with a generous 128GB of base storage and an expandable card slot. You should also know that the Moto G9 Plus has NFC for contactless payments, which isn't always a given on budget and mid-range devices. We expected a lot in terms of endurance since the G9 Plus has a power-efficient chipset and a massive 5000 mAh battery, and we were not disappointed. The phone got an excellent 136-hour endurance rating in our test routine. Thanks to the 30-watt fast charger, topping up the phone was a breeze too. You'll get 0 to 54% in half an hour, and a full charge takes around an hour and 15 minutes. One of the reasons Motorola fans stay loyal is the software. Moto usually offers a clean UI with Android as Google intended. This time around, it's Android 10, and hopefully it'll be updated to Android 11 in the coming months. There are a few more options than usual to take advantage of. First are the Moto gestures, which include classics like twist to launch the camera. But you'll also find some new gestures, like double tapping the power button to bring out a pop-up window with your favorite apps. You can also customize the looks of your UI, from the accent color to the font to the shape of your icons. This year, the G9 Plus has a quad camera setup, but since it is a budget device, 2 of those cameras are more important than the others, namely the ultra-wide cam and the main sensor. The main camera has a 64-megapixel quad-Bayer sensor and an f1.8 aperture. The ultra-wide has been downgraded from 16-megapixel to 8, but it's also no longer an action camera, so you can actually use it to take stills. The other 2 cameras are a macro cam and a depth sensor. During the day, the G9 Plus captures shots that have slightly above average quality. Colors are punchy and the dynamic range is wide enough. Sharpness was just the right amount and we saw plenty of detail. The ultra-wide, on the other hand, was disappointing. Moto's quirky camera app insists that it shoots in 16 megapixels. and images are soft and muddy with anemic colors and a general lack of detail. At least, the dynamic range was good thanks to the HDR. Portraits had convincing bokeh, and when there was enough light, shots came out sharp and detailed. Skin tones are also nice unless you find yourself in a darker environment. The macro camera has autofocus, which made locking focus onto a subject much easier. It definitely doesn't disappoint provided there's plenty of light. Low light shots with the main camera were on par with what the competition has to offer. Sometimes we noticed a bit too much noise, but at least detail was retained. Switching on night vision significantly helped things. Photos were sharper, there was significantly more detail in the shadows, clip highlights were fixed, and light sources looked better overall. Noise was also much reduced without smoothing out detail. Considering it doesn't take long for the night vision mode to stack all the images, you'll be much better off using it instead of the regular photo mode. We do wish that there was a night vision option for the ultra-wide camera too, but sadly you're stuck with the regular photo mode and the results were not great. Photos were muddy, they lacked detail, colors were washed out, and the dynamic range was narrow. The phone can shoot stabilized videos up to 4K at 30 FPS. We were expecting sharper 4K footage with a wider dynamic range. Colors could be more lively and contrast could be higher. The stabilization worked well though, so we would just leave it on perpetually. The 16 megapixel camera on the front did a good job, though here the photos were outputted in 4 megapixels because it's a quad Bayer one. Selfies were sharp and detailed and worked well to keep the subject's face nicely exposed even in challenging conditions. So, is the Moto G9 Plus a good buy? Well, that depends on your market. The Moto G9 Plus will have difficulty thriving in places where challenger brands are reshaping the budget and mid-range segments. But come to think of it, Motorola is also a challenger brand in a way. Sure, they have a glorious past in mobile history, but right now they have yet to establish themselves as a major player, and they're laser focused on that mid-range segment with some aggressive pricing. But the competition is fierce and they won't have it easy. Still, if you're a stock Android lover and you want a phone with a big screen on a budget, you should definitely check this one out. Thanks for watching everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.